Hi everyone, Daniel here. Today we're going to make part of the arena mode of Hearthmate. And very briefly, arena mode is a game mode in Hearthstone where are you build a random deck and you can play against other players uh, who also have random decks. Um, you will you can win up to 12 times or lose up to 3 times. So if you and so let me just show you the UI for in this app that's designed for it. So if we tap here, we will go to arena mode, and I already have some UI laid out. And the idea is the user can select how many wins, how many lose in each round, and then if the game didn't happen today, they can select a date for it. So let me just show you the to-do list, and here it is. We already have things built out in storyboard, and we want to make a today button in the date picker, which is this. So tap here to set the date here to today, and sync slider and display value. So if I drag here, this should change according to it. And lastly, if say this was set to a different date, this will display that date in some kind of format. But if I change it back to today, instead of showing today's date, it will show the word today from here. All right, let's get right to it. Here's Xcode. We have our storyboard here, and that's all I have right now. Let me start by create some class for it. All right. This is the bug of Xcode. They always import Coco instead of UIKit. So what do we do? Go here. I'll set the class of this view controller as the long name we just picked. Then let's think about it. So the effect is if we tap here, we want to set the date here. So we need a reference to both of these objects. Let's see. Date picker view and today button. Okay. And what today button do? An action set to today. And now all that needs to happen when we tap on the button is date picker view state becomes today. Alrighty. And that should do it. So if we compile now, okay, go here, add a new record, ignore the warning. It's just complaining that the Coco doesn't know about the height of these cells. And if we change this to some other date and tap here, boom, today. Done. Done. I like to do it this way. This is Vim, and I use this simple text format to track as a to-do list. And so version control take care of like time and if it's multiple person who checked this list or add item to it or whatever. And so our second task is sync up the slider and the display value. Pretty much the very similar process of creating another view controller. I think this one is actually a table view, although it's static, but I will create a table view for it. Again, UI kit. So let's set the controller from the storyboard to its correct class. Arena report recording controller. All right. Okay. Again, we need some references to these controls. Let's see. So, when description label loss description label let's do win slider loss slider. Okay. I think the sliders might not be necessary, the reference to them, but we'll see. And all we need to do, what we want to accomplish is when we slide the win slider, when its value changes, I think its value changed or editing changed. One of these. Let's try value changed. Update UI for win slider. Okay, let's try this out. I'm not sure. I should look it up. I could look it up, but I will simply try this one out first. Let's just print something. Update. Will you update when I slide you now? So on the to-do list today is we only have a bunch of like UI related tasks. I'm not sure whether I want to actually create, connect the view controller and the model today. We'll see how long this video will take. So go here, tab here, warning, ignore, drag. All right, as you can see, our printing message is here. So we can actually, which means we can actually update the label. Oops. Let me look it up. So it's slider, UI slider. UI slider has a value property is the current value. And if I remember correctly, I've already set the max and min for these values. Yep, 0 to 12 for win, 0 to 3 for loss. Okay. And value is float. Oops. I think I only need int. Anyway, let's try this out. What if I say when description label.text is when slider dot value? What does that do? I really don't want float values here. Is there a way we can limit it to non-float value integer? Continuous update. I know that shouldn't be where the right thing. Okay. Let's see. Slide, slide, slide. What's your value? So it is giving us float value. So one way we can do this is round it up. But I still want to see if the slider can provide integer value. Let's just Google it. Right, let's Google it. Integer. Slider integer increment. All right, perfect. Could try this. Continuous, no, and then round it. Looks like we have to manually round it, I guess. Round. Yep. Increment. Big slider. It looks like we have to manually round it. What's the correct way to round it? Slider value times 2 times 1. Round F. Wait, I think this is specific to the question. No. Rounded. So casting to an int will truncate round down. So if we only round down, would it reach the maximum value? Say if I just say, oh, so you're int, now I'm going to create your float, I'm going to cast you to an int. So we can't do that this way. I know for sure. I think you can do int. No. What happens now? So hopefully we can get from 0 to 12 all the way. My concern is if it's only round down. Oh wait, so if it's when it's 12.0, it will actually round to 12. Fine. Let's just do it this way for now. And the value here, current value is 0. Somehow I thought I saw the initial value is 12. Yep, starts at 12. Oh, that's just because the placeholder value is 12. That's fine. So when all right, so looks like we've got it. For loss, it's just a matter of switching out this variable and names. And connect the actual view with its action. Here we go. Okay, I will consider this done. Okay, So the next one actually requires interaction between the two view controller we just created. Let me do some version control here. Status, add everything, and we say made today button work and slider update labels. So one advantage of having the to-do list as part of your project is that you can be brief on on commit messages, because if you actually look at the changes, it will show your to-do list changes. So that's pretty cool. Anyways, let's think about the next one. So whatever date change selection happened here will have to go back to our view controller here, so we can use a delegate pattern, I guess, which means I need to create a delegate for this view controller, which is here. You can see we can create a protocol, which is blah 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 delegate, and all this delegate does is take this message, which is let's think about this. So when this gets dismissed, okay, when this gets dismissed, okay, so we'll just say select date, and inside is the actual date. So the date picker controller will tell its delegate, there's a date, there's a you can have this date, okay, and I will say week for delegate is, oh, computer's getting really slow and source code service crash. Arena report recording delegate. Okay, where does this work? Okay, looks fine. Should be fine. Oh, nope. Oh, it needs an initializer, of course. So one way in Swift we work around this is we say delegate, you're optional. And since it's optional, we can say, oh, your initial value is nil, right? And in view will disappear. We say, hey delegate, if delegate is, okay, let's think. So we have the delegate if the real delegate exists. We can say, real delegate. Here's the date. Select date. Oh, still getting used to Swift and try to not use self date. Picker view dot date. Delegate. Have this date. Right. So if we don't have a delegate, we don't have to do anything. Oh, what's wrong? Week. Oh, right. Let's make it not week. I think we're fine. I think we're fine this way. So all we need to do is if we go to recording delegate and we say, okay, warnings from storyboard. It's very random. They just change the layout and think the layout is slightly wrong. I don't have to worry too much about that. Say, oh, okay, select date. So this delegate this class will implement that delegate. Select date. Autocomplete EDSC. Okay. So one of the goals for updating the date description is if it's today, we say today. Otherwise, we see just a date string, right? So say I need a date formatter, which is in a date formatter, and let's give it a date format. I don't care about the time, so I think I'll just use something standard. Date formatter. Time style is no style. No style. Right? No style. Yep. Legit. Date formatter. Date style. Long style. Long style. Okay. I just realized that we actually need a reference to the label to be able to update it. So we can do this label. We need to update this label. Let's make this automatic. Whoop, wrong. Arena report recording view controller. Okay, get rid of this junk. Grab a reference to this label. Date description label. Date label, date description label. Sure. The description label. So first we just update this label. Date description label dot text is date formatter string from date and selected date. Okay. And we actually want to remember this date, the actual date as well. So that means I need to actually create a state here. Selected date. I'll just call it date. And this date, the default value is today. Yes. Okay. Let's give some marker here. Mark this section is implementation of this delegate. Great. So we now made this class conform to this protocol, and we actually have to assign itself to the date picker controller when it's being displayed. And to do that, prepare for segue. Say, okay. We first gave this segue a ID. We say show date, show recording date picker. Okay, give it this ID. Since I'm not reusing it, I'm just gonna use the raw, a literal value. Segue dot identifier is this. If this is the segue, oops. If this is a segue, we will grab the destination controller, picker controller, segue dot destination view controller, and we'll cast it as our actual controller class, which is really long, but that's just fine. Something wrong with this, or is this optional? Cannot downcast to non-protocol type. Oh, this, I typed delegate. Duh. This should be fine. Try to build. When in doubt, try to build. To work with the current state of Swift toolchain, that's something you have to do. Okay, I think we're fine, so let's keep trucking because the battery life is running out. So we need to do picker controller.delegate is self. Now that delegate, oh, okay. Okay. So when we display this, when we perform this segue, we grab the destination controller and assign its delegate to self. When I type this, the next controller should have this controller as its delegate. If I go back now, this controller gets dismissed. It will send a message to its delegate, the previous controller, that we select this state, and this controller, in terms, should update this label, the label that describes the date. Boom, done. Pretty sweet. Okay. Now there's a few little issues to take care of. One is this date is not recorded. So let's get that sorted. Date equals selected date to persist the selection result in its actual data format. Also, when we perform this, we actually need, so if you select date and go back to select another date, the picker should reflect the previously selected date. To do that, we need to give this guy an initial date. Initial date, let's make it a default value as well. Oops. And when the view loads, we'll display this date. View will appear. Super view will appear. Animated. Okay. And okay. That old habit. Initial date. And when we go back, we can say, oh, when that date is, when the picker is about to show, set its initial date to the current date that we know. Okay. So if we try now, okay, I'm going here, today. If I change this date to February, oh, what's going on? Some spooky action happening there. Anyway, February 7th, 2015. Now that's 2015. So if I go back, it should still show 2015. Great. If I change to January 6, 2014, January 6, 2014, January 6, 2014. Perfect. So the last thing to take care of is if the date is today, we need to set the string to today as opposed to this text. So all this only happens when the date is not today, except for the last line. So let's separate that. So how do you compare to NSDate object by date and year and month, and not their minutes and seconds and hours? I think you have to get a date. Let's Google it. Compare NS date by date. Flags is used by when you create the components, right? And you need NS year, calendar, unit, Wednesday. Okay. Today is state. We have the other date, selected date, and now we create those components and create a calendar, and let the calendar equal ns calendar. Okay, ns date components, calendar components. Components flag from date. Components from date. Components from date. I hope I just plugged in my power. I hope this won't create any noise. If it does, I'm sorry, because I'm running out of battery power right now. Components. Here comes the flags. I'm not sure if they are the same in Swift. Let's look it up. Yep. Corresponding value is an integer. It's deprecated in 8. Wait, it's deprecated. Oh, here we go. Oh boy. Nice calendar unit. Maybe it's better to separate them. Let flags equal as calendar unit dot. We start by calendar unit year, month, day. Calendar unit year and as calendar unit. I think this is the only way to do bitwise operation. Unit dot calendar unit month calendar unit day. We good? Okay. Put these flags here. From date. Ooh, so this is for one day. Today components. And we'll have to do this for a different day. I think I can save this line by doing this. We can reuse the calendar here and get the same thing for the other day. Let selected components equal calendar components from date. Flags date is selected date. Now we can compare. Today components. How do you compare two date components? I don't know. Let's try this. If date components is equal to the selected components, then we do something else. Otherwise, we simply update the string. Oh, we still record the change. If this is the case, then date description label dot text should equal to today. All right, let's try this one out. Usually, if we're in Objective-C, this is definitely not the way to compare the date components. But in Swift, the identity comparison is actually 3 equal signs. So this should compare the value of them as opposed to their pointer value. So now, if I go here, this is January 31st. Today, if I go back, it should say today as opposed to January 31st, 2015. Oops, didn't work. What went wrong? Man. Let's set some flags and see what happened here. Selected components. So, bam, bam. What is today components? What is it? It's really slow because it's nil. Sure, it's nil. It is calendar nil. It is. What happened here? Am I doing this wrong? How do you calendar identifier coder identity current calendar, that might be better. Current calendar. Hopefully this will work, and our task today will be complete. Update today, yes. Jan 1st today, yes. All right. Display today when the date picked is today. Done. Great. And that's it, folks. Thanks for watching, and made a lot of dumb mistakes, but that's to be expected, and that's how my workflow is. See you in the next video.